case SEZ2025-00010. It's a special exception request in the Caloosahatchee Shores Planning Community. Because this is a quasi-judicial hearing, all evidence and testimony must be taken under oath. So if you intend to speak, if you could please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you will provide is the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have members of the public here today? Yes? Good morning. Thank you, ma'am. So the way we're going to proceed is first we're going to hear from the applicant. They're going to present their request in the case and call any witnesses that they may have in support of that request. Following that, we're going to hear from the county staff, who's going to present their review and recommendation in the case. They are recommending approval with some conditions. After that, I will open up the public comment period, which is when I'll call forward anyone who wishes to speak and place comments into the record. Following that, we will come back to the applicant and the staff for their rebuttal and any closing comments that they may have. Because this is a special exception, the case is final with me, so we will be issuing a decision after the hearing today. So with that, we can begin. I believe, staff, did you provide me with the 48-hour?
I
In this
didn't have
case?
48 hours.
Okay, do you have the affidavit of
I
publication?
have the affidavit.
Okay, I'll accept that now, please. Thank you. Okay, so that will be Staff Exhibit 2. Staff Exhibit 1 was the staff report. And we can begin whenever the applicant is ready. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Hearing Examiner. For your record, my name is Richard Aiken. I'm attorney with Henderson Franklin, here this morning on behalf of the applicant. Before we get started with our presentation, I'd like to provide you with a few exhibits. So I have a copy of the 48-hour letter, which you already have. I also have with that to provide you, we had noted in the 48-hour letter a disagreement over the second condition that staff had proposed. We have reached an agreement on a revision to that condition. I have that we actually just worked it out before we started the hearing, so it's in an email from Shahram. I have it printed out here, and I will provide you with that. That will be the new condition 2, should you approve it. I also have 2 copies of our PowerPoint for you, as well as 2 copies of the master concept plan on 11/17. There are no changes to the master concept plan from what you have in the application packet.
Thank you. So the 48-hour letter was pre-labeled applicant 1. So then we'll take those in the order you presented them. Thank you very much. So applicant's exhibit 2 would then be the revised condition 2. Make that nice and simple. And then applicant 3 will be the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you. And applicant 4 will be the site plan, which is the same as what we've got. Thank you. Let me.
There are 2 of these, one you can write on if you want to.
Thank you. I do. I like to color and write on all of these plans. It helps me. And I appreciate the larger version, so thank you for that. Okay. So with that out of the way, we can begin whenever you're ready.
All right. Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. As mentioned, there was one change to the conditions. You have the revised condition in front of you. I believe Ms. Ekblad, when she gets up here, will kind of walk through that. If you have any questions about it of me now, we can talk about it. The change there was simply that the staff condition had proposed that there would be strictly no shredding on site of any vegetative matter. The concern we had there is that the applicant will need to do some probably shredding in order to clear the property and remove some exotics, and that would not be prohibited by the code. So we also made some other clarifying things just to avoid a situation with code enforcement at a later time. So we hammered some of that out. It's consistent with the land development code requirements. So we can discuss that now if you'd like, but I think Ms. Ekblad can go through it, and we are in agreement with staff on that changed condition.
We'll address it during the presentation then. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have our project team here with us this morning. We have Tina Ekblad, who's our project planner, and Ted Treesh, who's the traffic consultant on the project. Ms. Ekblad will be doing the presentation this morning. Mr. Treesh is here if you have any specific questions of him. He does not have an affirmative presentation. We also have Dave Pfister. He is the applicant in this project and the owner of the site. He's here if you have any questions of him or if we need any clarifications on any matters. With that, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Tina to do the rest of our presentation. And she's been recognized as an expert before.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My current resume is on file as well with your office. So just for a little bit of background so we know where we are, the property is highlighted here in blue. I believe this image is from Lee County's GIS. just southeast of the I-75 and Luckett interchange. The kind of white boxes to the west of the property are actually within the city of Fort Myers. That's an industrial complex. There was a letter of availability received from Lee County Utilities that service could occur in this area as well. The property is 5.05 acres. That is important, and we'll get into that in a few slides. And the future land use is urban community, and the current zoning is AG2, agricultural. And the property is within the Caloosahatchee Shores planning community. We did host the required meeting on June 18th at the Riverdale Library. There were no participants at that meeting. So with regard to the special exception specifically, we are asking for the limited business services group 2. That is specific to horticultural services and lawn and garden supply only. The use groups in the land development code state that group 2 business services are kind of separated out due to equipment and vehicle storage or the processes used for the services. So what you'll see in the site plan that was handed out is we are proposing to utilize the existing residential units in the northern portion of the property, and this existing fence is going to be maintained kind of as the dividing line between what is remaining on site in terms of the residential, and then the conversion of the existing structure south of that fence, and the implementation of low turnover parking and an outdoor storage area to support Mr. Pfister's vegetative tree service company. The concept here would be for the existing access point off of Longhorn Trail to be, I'll say improved. It's currently dirt and for passenger vehicle access. So it will have gravel and lead to a parking lot for employees. The employees will come to the site in the morning, kind of get their orders for the day, pick up equipment, and then leave. The equipment will be stored either in this outdoor storage area that's proposed at the southern boundary of the property or within the proposed pole barn. The concept here being that there's not a lot of activity on site during the day. It's really morning turnover and then evening when everything finishes up. Regarding the condition that we talked about, Mr. Pfister does plan to, as I mentioned, store his equipment here, but then also sometimes at the end of a job, there's storage of vegetative matter. He understands that shredding and composting is not allowed. That's a different use. But the concept here would be sometimes we don't have time at the end of the day, so it'll get stored on site. It will not be turned over. And then once it needs to be processed, he will take that to a different facility to manage that. As Mr. Aiken mentioned, the changes to the conditions were simply to promote clarity related to that operation. A couple other finer points. The access off of Angus Lane will be maintained for residential. And then there's a current dirt path that kind of connects the front and the rear of the property. That's going to be fenced off, so there will be no connection between the residential that's being retained and then the commercial business operating in the southern portion of the property. We did propose the outdoor storage to the maximum extent possible to demonstrate what is, I would describe as a worst case scenario. Mr. Pfister may pull that back, particularly from the south boundary, once he has purchased all of his equipment. He is expanding his business and we just weren't exactly sure. So we proposed a maximum boundary and we may pull that back at the time of development order.
Just to go back for a second, so the residential, my understanding was that all of the buildings on site were being converted for the business use, but that's not the case. So there's going to be a bifurcation between essentially the northern portion and the southern portion, and that fence is going to operate as the dividing line between the two.
Correct.
Okay, so residential uses will continue on what you've got shown as the tract -21, I guess is what's here, but then the pole barn and the two-story building,
Correct.
those are the ones where you said they're going to store the equipment and operate the office aspects of the business?
Correct.
Okay, and with respect to the parking, it's based on the square footage of the building, but I remember reading that there's going to be 28 employees and some of them might carpool, so you don't need all the 28 spaces, but was that accounted for in the code anywhere? I assume there's ample space on 5 acres for them to park on site if they need to, but that wasn't demarcated, so I just wanted to know how that was evaluated.
We did the parking as a low turnover parking lot based on, you're correct, the office. There is adequate space to add parking as Mr. Pfister expands his business. I think what I heard your question was, is there enough parking for the 28 employees? I don't know that off the top of my head, but I can kind of look back at the file and get you an answer to that.
Thank you.
I think the only other thing I wanted to mention regarding the site plan was related to kind of the concept in Caloosahatchee Shores of retaining character. We feel that we're meeting that through the retention of the residential, as you just mentioned, but then also the retention of the existing landscaping on site. So there are mature laurel oaks that exist along these property boundaries that are noted on the site plan. We are proposing to retain those and incorporate them into the required landscaping. And then also this outdoor storage area is required to have supplemental screening. The height of the opaque screening method varies depending on the boundary. It ranges from 6 to 8 feet. What that means is on the east, west, and south boundary, we basically have a double buffer that will, I believe, will be native vegetation as required by the code. And so we're maintaining that community character, but also providing the required screening. The property is in an area that is surrounded by agricultural zoning. All of these properties are also within the urban community future land use and some within the wetland future land use. What is actually happening on the ground here, though, is these agricultural properties are kind of transitioning into these, I'll describe them as quasi-commercial uses. So to the north, we do have, across Angus Lane, we do have true residential, whether it's conventional single-family homes or mobile homes. To the east, the property appraiser identifies this property as being residential and having a mobile home, but there is a pool construction business, and you can kind of see a little bit of the outdoor storage that's happening here related to that business operating on site. Similarly, to the south, the property is registered as being single family, but there is a farm. I would describe it as a petting zoo. They have open days for the public to come and meet the animals. They hold special events with local bands and music. It appeared that there might even be a farmer's market at some point, although that doesn't appear to have actually happened on site yet. And then similarly to the west, the property appraiser lists it as residential and a mobile home, but there is a mobile blasting and RV repair company operating there, and you can again see that outdoor storage in this southern area. And so when we look at the broader context, we can really see that this agricultural zoning placeholder and the commercial uses that it allows are kind of being increased, and we would anticipate that that would continue to transition, beginning closest to the existing industrial I described within the city of Fort Myers and extending eastward, so that over time this area will truly develop into a more urban pattern consistent with that future land use. I think what we're seeing here, and with Mr. Pfister's request, you're seeing that more transitional between true agricultural and then that urban commercial as number one, central water and sewer become available and get extended. And then also Angus and Longhorn are dirt roads. So as these businesses come together and start to improve those roadways to county standards, we'll see a more intensification of commercial. We very much talked about the site plan already. So I think the only other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot was we did locate the parking to the south and the side of the office building consistent with the Caloosahatchee Shores planning community requirements in Chapter 33. We talked about the open storage. The business operation is not open to the public. It's strictly wholesale, so it would just be employees and ownership. And I think we really covered everything else on this slide. We are anticipating that to implement the full slate of improvements, a development order would be required. With that, there would be a full environmental assessment, flex mapping, and protected species as well. So proposed condition 2, I don't want to spend too much time on this because we are now in agreement, and the difference kind of being the first sentence has been modified to indicate shredding and composting of off-site vegetative matter is strictly prohibited at this site. So Mr. Pfister is aware that if he were to remove vegetation from a property and bring it to this location, he cannot shred and he cannot compost. Composting is the concept of turning over the material with water and air to break it down faster. But he does want to be able to shred any exotics or existing vegetation that need to be removed to effectuate the site plan. So we wanted to modify this, particularly the opening sentence, so that he could be allowed to do that. And then we added the second sentence, which is that shredding may occur during on-site vegetative removal. As I mentioned, he will have equipment associated with shredding and composting, so we wanted it to be clear for any future code enforcement that that equipment could be stored on-site, again, in that open storage area with the screening. And then finally, we modified the last sentence now to say vegetative matter generated by the commercial business may be stored on site. So again, if he goes to a property, takes down some trees, and either the limbs or chips need to be stored on site, he can do that, but he can't turn it over and break it down further once it gets to the property.
And I suppose the enforcement methodology then, it's self-effectuating because of the shredding may occur during on-site vegetative removal provision, so there's a temporal aspect to it, so that once the development order has been effectuated, then there should be no more shredding occurring on the site after that.
Yes, and my understanding is that the development order must be issued, there's a vegetation removal permit, and then there's a certification of the development order. So there's a way to track that in the system.
So once the vegetative permit is effectuated, then that would cease. Any kind of shredding would be able to cease at that point. Okay.
Correct.
Just to provide the community with some assurance that there's actually teeth to providing a provision of that nature, so that the code enforcement staff aren't left to wonder where the material's coming from, if it was originating from on-site or off-site. That's where it gets a little complicated.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And so finally, as you know, the Land Development Code identifies several findings and review criteria. One being compliance with the LEA plan consistency. That was redundant, sorry. Compliance with the LEA plan. We are consistent with the LEA plan in its entirety. I mentioned the urban community future land use, which is for intense commercial and residential. We have not met the maximums permitted by the future land use. This is a kind of transitional use as this area moves from residential into kind of quasi-commercial and then further into urban development. We have retained the features of the site that promote community character with the Caloosahatchee Shores Planning District, and the business is appropriate given what is happening in the surrounding area. One of the other findings and review criteria is that natural resources be protected and preserved on site. The property has previously been cleared, as you can see from the aerial, and there will be an environmental site assessment that occurs with the development order. If there is any indigenous vegetation, we're not anticipating any wetlands on site, but if for some reason that came up during the review, we could adjust the site plan accordingly. And then I also want to note that the property is not included in the agricultural overlay in the LEA plan, so it can transition into those other uses at another point in time. And then we are compliant with the zoning category. The uses in the site plan are consistent with the Land Development Code. The flexibilities that we've asked for to retain the existing vegetation are permitted without a deviation, and are actually more appropriate for protecting that view corridor along Angus and Longhorn, because that vegetation is in place and mature. And then further, the compatibility with the neighborhood and the public welfare. As I mentioned, the property is in an area with existing businesses and residential. We talked about the transition that's happening from true agriculture to different, more intense commercial uses. All of the required buffers are proposed to be provided. As I mentioned, we do have that situation with the double buffer between the roadway and the outdoor storage areas, ensuring that the traveling public along these roadways cannot see the storage of the material or the equipment. And then the operations are appropriately limited to a wholesale business rather than promoting pass-by trips and a retail opportunity, furthering compatibility with the area. And so given that we have agreed with the site plan and the other conditions, it is my professional opinion that you can recommend approval of this special exception. I don't want to belabor the points unless there are specific questions or items that staff feels that we need to expand upon, or if you have any questions for me.
The only-
No, only that she's not recommending approval.
Oh,
Right.
I apologize.
The only other question that I had was, you mentioned as these other properties come in that are quasi-commercial and roadway improvements happen, I saw in the revised TIS in the 48-hour that no turn lanes are expected to be required as a result of this. Are there any other road improvements that would have to be done for an operation of this type?
So at the time of development order, the land development code requires whether it's this business or any other business, to improve these dirt roadways to meet county standard. So it's really a timing issue. Who comes in first, they will be required to do that.
And that would be for Angus and for Longhorn
Correct.
Trail? Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Does staff have any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. I'm ready for staff then, whenever you're ready, Sharon.
Good morning, Sharon Badamchian from the county zoning. My resume is on file. I was recognized as expert in zoning and planning.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Well, the request is to approve a special exception to allow for horticultural and lawn and garden supply services business on the site, which is 5 acres in area and zoned agricultural. This is a general location. You can see Lockett Road, I-75, and the location. And aerial. Future land use is urban community and surrounded by urban community and some wetlands. But the property does not have a wetland on it, wetland future land use designation on it. The zoning is AG2 surrounded by AG2s. And this is the master concept plan that you just saw. There's no need to labor over it. Okay. LEAP plan consistency, basically they're in compliance with goal 21 and policy 1.1.4, which is the urban community language, and also 5.1.5. And these are just some of the LEAP plan policies and goals and objectives that they're in compliance. They're in full compliance with all the required LEAP plan policies. And the finding is they're consistent with the LEAP plan policies, and this will protect and preserve the environmentally critical area, will be compatible with existing and planned uses, will not be injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to public welfare, will be in compliance with all zoning regulations. Staff recommends approval subject to staff conditions. The issue was condition number 2. And we had a disagreement until like 8:55 this morning. And with the help of Mr. Aiken, we were able to resolve that issue. Staff agrees with the revised condition that Mr. Aiken handed to you. This is the land development code requirement, and it says shredding and composting of vegetative matter such as grass clipping, shrubs, or brush generated from location other than the same premises may be permitted by plan development only, industrial plan development only. So this code, it's already allows shredding of vegetative matter generated on site. But we are in agreement with this revised condition. We have no problem with it. And With that said, staff recommends approval of this project, subject to all staff conditions and with the exception of condition 2 that we provided you with revised condition.
The only question I had, condition 5 referenced the 8-foot wall. That, I believe, if you can just confirm, that's only around the proposed unpaved storage area in the south. Is that correct? You're not
Correct.
requiring it along the
Correct.
entirety. Thank you. Did applicant have any questions of staff?
No.
Thank you. Okay, we will open up public comment if you would like to come forward and place any comments into the record. Good morning.
Hi, my name is Debbie Walker. We were actually the first ones out there ever back in the 70s. And I went around to everybody last night. Nobody knew about this meeting. For one, where they posted the signs. They posted it, only 4 of us would see it because how we're spaced out. The zoning sign was placed in front of their property that is after Longhorn. So nobody from Holstein, nobody from Longhorn even knew about this meeting. So as I spoke with people last night, their main concern out here, and I even had a petition signed of the people on Angus, the dump trucks, constantly in and out, debris dropping from the dump trucks, the noise from them. About 4 months out the year, our road is underwater. We have no drainage out there whatsoever. So the dump trucks are destroying the road even more. And then us, you know, the single families has to try to get through it with cars. Them bringing in debris from other sites, other places, what kind of bugs and insects and all that that's going to be brought in with it? I'm wetland. I'm surrounded by woods out there. You know, is that going to have an effect on our wetland if other, you know, insects get brought in? And then the fire hazard of it just sitting there piling up. We have no fire hydrants out there. We have nothing to try to stop it. Tice, they could come out with a little water truck and try to stop it, but by then it's too late. I mean, because it's all woods out there. So that's like the main concerns that the actual residents, and we do have other businesses moving in. Everybody on the road has called county trying to stop it. We can't get no help out there. Nobody will not stop these businesses from coming in. I don't even know if they're all legal. You know, I have, next beside me, 5 acres just got sold, has a shed on it. These people wants to make it into a church. They don't want to live there. They just want to make it into a church. And there's quite a few of us out there that just wants to live out there in peace without hearing dump trucks and all of that.
And where are you? I think you said on Angus Lane, correct?
I'm at the very end. Angus Lane dead ends. And I'm at the very end. I'm the very last house.
Thank you.
So Angus Lane. There's only like 4 of us out there.
Angus keeps going on the right-hand side of the screen. Yeah, see it?
You can't tell by that.
It's under the trees.
Okay, no, yeah, I'm back. Actually, is that me? Can I come up here?
Yes, please.
I think this is me. This is me right here.
Okay. Thank you. So past the side on the north hand,
Yeah.
the north.
And then it dead ends into the woods in which people ride their horses, kids ride their dirt bikes. They can't with all the dump trucks. You know, you don't want to send your kids out there, and these dump trucks, they fly down the road. They do not. It's, you know, you got to move out the way when they come down. And the road just can't take it. So that's like the main concern that, you know, all of us is having out there.
Did you have a petition that you
I
wanted
do.
to accept?
Mhm.
Thank you. And that was signed by the folks on Angus?
On Angus Lane, yes.
Thank you.
Because that's the main road that they will affect is Angus. Because as soon as they turn onto Longhorn, you know, they're right there. So it's mostly Angus Lane. And then if it was to catch on fire, how do we stop it? You know, we have no water out there unless you drain somebody's pond.
Thank you.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming today, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Did the applicant want to take a break before rebuttal, or are you prepared to proceed?
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Again, Richard Aiken for your record. So just to let me respond to a couple of the concerns raised by Ms. Welker. And if you have any other questions, we can go from there. So first of all, it sounds like her primary concern is, as she stated, dump trucks. I just spoke to Mr. Pfister, and he confirmed his operation doesn't use dump trucks. There are other trucks that he does have associated with his operation, but they're not that. And the other mention from Ms. Welker is where she lives. So none of the traffic generated by the applicant's use would actually go this way down Angus Lane to Ms. Welker's property. They're going to come in from this area over here and come down Longhorn, and the traffic's not going to continue past the site down Angus Lane. There would be no reason for that. In addition, there was an analysis done by Mr. Treesh as to the number of trips. There's no level of service analysis required because the trips generated are not that significant. In addition, I would like to point out that, again, the plan here and the request is to allow for the equipment to be stored on site overnight, and it's not going to be a constant stream of traffic back and forth all day. That's not how the operation works. There are not people coming to the site to drop materials off at the site. That's specifically not allowed by what we're requesting. Instead, this is a staging area for the equipment in the morning. They will come to the site, they will leave the site, they'll come back in the evening. So it's not a constant stream of traffic at all. The number of trucks, I don't have an exact number, but the number of trips, even in the worst case traffic analysis, is 34 a.m. and PM, are 34 a.m. and PM peak trips, which is not a lot. And I can't imagine in reality that it's anywhere near that number. You're just talking about, again, staging on site in the morning, leaving, and then coming back. So really what's going to happen is you're going to have one set of trucks going out in the morning and one set of trucks coming back in the evening and being stored on site. So while I do respect Ms. Welker's concerns, and I appreciate the fact that she would bring them here, I don't think that in reality it's going to create the type of traffic or truck trips that she is concerned about based on the analysis that's been done. There was a question about bugs and insects from the debris. Mr. Pfister's business is all here in Southwest Florida. It's not going to bring in any type of exotic bugs that would not already be in the Southwest Florida area because that's where the trees are going to be coming from, or where the equipment's going to be going. Finally, a fire hazard. I don't quite know how to respond. We do have letters of availability from the fire department. I don't believe that there's any history of Mr. Pfister's prior business uses in other locations that would demonstrate that there's any real concern for that. It's the best I can say. Mr. Pfister, how long have you been operating your business?
8 years,
8 years, right? And no fire trouble so far?
0.
Right, and I'll just represent that he said that, since it's not on the record, he's not up here testifying. But so he's been operating his business for 8 years and has not had any fire concerns at the other locations that he has operated at. Let's see, other questions that were asked. The signs, she mentioned the signs. Signs were posted on site. The required public notice was done, which is what's actually required by the code. So I believe proper notice, well, I don't believe, I know that proper notice was given, and there's not an issue with that. So any other specific questions that you'd like me to address?
Just some clarifications, perhaps. So the first thing you said, there's two parts to that, I guess. So you're saying that the trucks are only going to come in and they're going to leave at set times. So the first question that I think poses is what times? Is there a rough hours of operation of when these folks are leaving and entering the site? And then also the second part of the question is what types of equipment? If they're not dump trucks, what kind of trucks are we talking about? Are they just large commercial vehicles, like an F-350 size that's got a trailer attached to it, or what are we actually talking about?
So I would say, and we can maybe clarify the hours a little bit here, but they would be staging on site in the early morning. The employees would be arriving and leaving. So I imagine you're talking somewhere between what, like 6 and 9?
Yes.
6 and 9 in the morning is when they're going to be coming and going. when I say coming, the employees would be arriving and the trucks would be leaving. And then in the evening, I would imagine it would be sometime around 5, 6 p.m. Okay, so they'd be coming back around that time. That's the most likely. No guarantees that there wouldn't be a straggler at some point in time on either end of that, but that's generally when you're looking at. Secondarily, so the types of trucks that are associated, yes, there would be some pickup truck type trucks that would be associated. Mr. Pfister talked about grapple trucks, which are trucks that have the long arms that go out so that they can prune and they can grab other things. I imagine that there are the trailers that have the wood chippers attached to them and other type of equipment like that. But we are not talking about a dump truck that you would see coming in and out of a mine of some sort or a fill dirt pit, and certainly nothing like the traffic that would be generated. And again, the public is not coming. It's not like there's multiple trips to and from this site. It's relatively low turnover and relatively low traffic.
And the last question about the fire hazard is the stockpiling, the amount of, what amount of material are we talking about storing? Because condition 2 now allows you to store temporarily vegetation from off-site locations, and then you're gonna haul them back out to dispose of them however you see fit. But are we talking large amounts? I think that's where the fire concern is coming from.
It's not the intent to, we're just bringing it there temporarily till we can move it on to its final destination. So we don't really have an intent of piling it high.
And are the residents, because you've got folks living on this actual site, are those folks related to this business in any way?
Yes,
Okay.
Employees.
So I assume you wouldn't be posing a harm
no.
to the folks, that they would be the most immediate affected. Okay. Okay, thank you.
And further, one more point I'd like to make about the vegetative material that would be stored, right? So most of the time, this is going to be, you trim a live tree, right? And so it's still going to be green when it's stored on site. So it's not like you're talking about dead material that would be more prone to fire hazard. Green trees don't burn very well, as we all know. I think that's pretty common knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff have anything for rebuttal? No. Okay. Were there any closing comments?
None unless you have further questions of us.
Thank you. No, you answered everything. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. Thank you, everyone. I've got a couple of cases before this, but I will certainly release it as soon as I can. And as I said, it's final with me, so there's no scheduling after that point. But thank you again, everyone, for coming and participating today and providing all the materials that I have. Thank you.
Before you leave, Madam Mayor,